In 2009, I saw a news story I will never forget. It was a visceral punch to the gut. Thousands of liters of milk, white, clean, perfectly good, foaming and pouring right into the streets of Ardevant, France. French dairy farmers were dumping it in protest, trying to stop prices from collapsing. But here's the truly unsettling part. On the very same news screen, a scrolling banner was reporting on a devastating flood in Bangladesh, where people were struggling to even find a single meal. That contrast, absolute abundance, flowing down the drain, right next to absolute emptiness, that is the central, unforgivable paradox of our modern world. Think about it, the future we were sold. We were promised that by now, hunger would be a relic of the past, like payphones. We actually built the sci-fi stuff. Salmon in massive tanks, lab-grown steaks that never saw a cow, lettuce in 20-story skyscrapers. The technology is absolutely here. We cracked the code on food production. So, if we can feed every single person on Earth, then why do approximately 800 million people still starve? In this episode, we take a cold look at power, hard truths, the brutal economics and the political design. We dive into the ruthless gears of the global food machine to investigate why we have scarcity, who benefits from the scarcity, and when perfectly good food is destroyed, and why this crisis is not only solvable, but deliberately maintained. Since COVID, something has shifted in our grocery stores. Prices haven't just ticked up a few percent, they have exploded. Eggs, milk, bread, meat, the basics are now significantly more expensive than they were 3 years ago. And if you're struggling to afford food right now, you're not alone. Millions of middle-class families are beginning to understand what the world's poorest have always known, that food is becoming a luxury. What most people don't realize, that the same price shock, the one that's making your grocery bill unaffordable, is literally killing people on the other side of the world. Here's what the data tells us. When food prices spike, the world's poorest starve. It's that simple. A family earning $2 a day doesn't get to choose between a fancy tomato and a cheap one. They choose between eating today or buying medicine tomorrow. When prices rise, they don't negotiate. They simply starve. So hunger and high grocery prices are not separate crises. They are two sides of a broken coin. But here's what we don't talk about. The same corporate forces that are pushing grocery prices through the roof, making your eggs and milk unaffordable, are also the ones deliberately restricting food from reaching the world's poorest people. It's not two separate problems. It's one system with two different victims. The wealthy pay through their wallets, and the poor pay with their lives. And the companies in the middle, well, they profit from both. To understand how this works, we need to talk about a concept that most people have never heard of, but that explains nearly everything about why hunger persists in a world of plenty. It's called the entitlement approach, developed by the award-winning Nobel laureate economist Amartya Sen.
Amartya Sen is the winner of the 1998 Nobel Prize in Economics. He was given the award for, quote, restoring an ethical dimension to the discussion of economic problems. His writings have revolutionized the theory of development by focusing on the importance of freedom over wealth.
The very basic thing which leads to social change and progress is ultimately individual freedom. But individual freedom, of course, is also conditional on certain social opportunities being available, political opportunities, economic opportunities.
Here's the core idea. Hunger isn't about the absence of food. It's about the absence of power to access that food. That power, what Sen calls entitlement, is deliberately controlled. There's a second reason hunger persists, and it's even more insidious than the first one. It's called the global debt crisis, and it's strangling the ability of vulnerable nations to build their own resilient local systems. Let's imagine a farmer in Kenya. Let's call her Beatrice. She has land. She has the will to grow food for her family and her community. For Beatrice to build a resilient local system, she needs to buy seeds, tools, irrigation systems. Her government needs to build roads so that the food can reach market without spoiling. This requires investment. It requires capital. It requires money. But Kenya, like most developed nations, is drowning in debt. Debt to the IMF, the World Bank, foreign governments, private creditors. So much debt that the government can't invest in agriculture, can't build infrastructure, and can't support smallholder farmers.
When you're paying 40% of your government revenue just to service debt, you can't invest in rural roads. You can't build storage facilities. You can't create the systems that would allow local farmers to feed their communities.
Instead, what happens? Multinational corporations come in. They buy up land. They grow cash crops for export. Cocoa, coffee, cut flowers, things that generate foreign currency to pay off debt. Not food for local consumption, but export crops. So the irony is suffocating. A nation starving for food is exporting food to pay off debt to foreign creditors. It's a trap by design. A smallholder farmer in Kenya can't compete with agribusiness backed by foreign capital. So they lose their land. They move to cities. They become dependent on purchasing food in markets where prices are set by global corporations operating in concentrated oligopolies. And when prices spike because of bird flu or war or a currency collapse, they have no safety net, no local food system, no entitlement to food. The debt crisis didn't just drain capital from vulnerable nations. It's systematically destroying the local, decentralized food systems that could have protected people from exactly these kinds of shocks. It paralyzed investment in the one thing that could create real food security: resilient, local, controlled agriculture. Now for the part that will really change how you see this crisis. The world produces enough food to feed every person on Earth, with surplus to spare. But 1/3 of all food produced, enough to feed 2 billion people, is deliberately destroyed, wasted, or allowed to rot. Let me say that again. Enough food to feed 2 billion people is never eaten. What is frustrating is the system is designed this way. In developed countries, it happens at the farm level. A smallholder farmer in Uganda grows tomatoes, but there's no cold storage, no refrigerated trucks, no proper roads. The tomatoes spoil in transit. They never reach the market, never reach the consumer. Just like that, just gone.
In sub-Saharan Africa, up to 30% of harvest is lost to poor post-harvest infrastructure. It's not that the food doesn't exist, it's that the systems to move it are broken, deliberately underinvested in.
And what about the policy friction? That's the bureaucratic machine that keeps this system in place. Trade barriers that prevent food from flowing from regions of surplus to regions of scarcity. Export bans that prioritize national profit over global need. Regulations that require cosmetic perfection in food, ensuring that perfectly nutritious food is discarded. It's not one broken link, it's the entire system designed to create artificial scarcity, maintain high prices, and protect corporate profit. Meanwhile, in conflict regions around the world, where conflict has shattered food systems entirely, people literally cannot access the food that exists. Not because it doesn't exist somewhere in the world, but because they have no money, no entitlement, no power in a system that only recognizes one form of demand: purchasing power backed by dollars. The tragedy of this is almost beyond comprehension. The food is there, the technology is there, the global logistics network is there, but it's all engineered to serve profit and not people. And when there's a shortage, when prices spike, the machinery shifts into overdrive. Corporations use the crisis to raise prices even higher. Supply chains that should distribute food more efficiently instead concentrate wealth and power. So, let me connect these three threads because together they reveal the true nature and architecture of global hunger. Corporate oligopolies use their market power to raise prices beyond what is necessary, extracting maximum profit from the world's poorest people. That's the first thread. A global debt crisis has systematically destroyed the local food systems and agricultural infrastructure that could protect vulnerable nations from these shocks. That's the second thread. And an engineered system of waste, policy friction, and artificial scarcity keeps food from reaching those who need it most, all while protecting corporate margins. That's the third thread. Each alone is a policy failure. Together, they form a trap. And here's the thing that should enrage you. This isn't inevitable. This isn't the result of nature or bad luck or overpopulation. It's the result of deliberate design, political and economic choices made by people in power. The companies raising prices know they can. The governments allowing debt to strangle investment know what they're doing. The systems destroying food know why they're doing it. And the poorest people in the world, the 800 million who are starving right now, they didn't vote for these systems. They didn't choose it. They're just trapped in it. Amartya Sen taught us that the hunger is about entitlement, about power to access food. And right now, that power is concentrated, hoarded, used as a weapon. But it doesn't have to be this way. Mexico just proved it. When the government stepped in and negotiated directly with corporations to keep basic food affordable, prices actually came down. They used the state power to say, food is a human right and not a profit center. That's possible. That's an option. But it requires governments willing to stand up to corporate power. It requires seeing hunger not as a charity problem, but as a justice problem. Because the central lie we've been sold is this: that ending hunger is impossible, that we can't do it, that it's too complicated. That's a lie. We can feed everyone. We know how. We have the technology. We have the resources. What we don't have is the political will to prioritize people over profit. If you like our content and you like what we talk about, I'd like you to press the subscribe button and like our videos. This helps us, work with the algorithm and get more of our content out there. And then also let me know what stories you'd want me to cover, what food stories. Farm to Feast is a channel where we focus on food, the food we eat, the people that make it, and just policy and everything in and around food. This is what we're trying to do. We're trying to build a community that does that. So I thank you for everyone who supported us so far, and thank you. See you on the next one.